Hello, welcome to another Burgundy with Tweedy video. Sorry, it's just my back garden. It's just difficult to get out before it gets dark this time of year, isn't it? This is the budget wine from Jean Marie Fourrier. Jean Marie Fourrier of Domaine Fourrier, who releases this under a different brand. I think it's not Domaine Fourrier because he doesn't grow the grapes himself. That's my understanding. So you get the winemaking finesse of Jean Marie Fourrier, but not the viticulture side of things, although presumably he is quite picky with where he gets his grapes from. Don't know if you can appreciate this. I've tried to illuminate the surroundings with candles to give it a bit more ambience. That one's hot. As always, with these wax seals, I believe you just sort of plunge through and pretend it's not there. Never feels quite right, but I think that's the technique, which is particularly fiddly actually with wine prongs sometimes, but I don't know, it seems to be working. A little bit chilly out here. I don't know if I appear to be my teeth chattering a bit, which may encourage me to get on with this at a slightly more expedited pace than is the norm. I seem to be dealing with a lot of wax here. I've got candles all around me, wax from them. Now I've got some wax on this to take off. So I think I probably said on a recent video, I think it's useful to give yourself a little bit without wax around where you're pouring. I don't know if that's traditional or not. Once again, I've created an environment where it's very difficult for me to comment meaningfully on the colour. Actually looks fairly bright though. Sort of brightish red for a change. I'm used to a lot of 2022 wines being relatively dark, but with the caveat of this really suboptimal lighting, quite a nice bright sheen to that. Nice bright cherry red sort of colour. Is that going to correspond to cherries on the nose, he asks. Well, first nose there. Before any swirling, I think I'm smelling wax more than anything. Candle wax and maybe the wax from the bottle. Get these out of the way. It was nice while it lasted, wasn't it? Perhaps it wasn't actually. Perhaps you couldn't even see them in shop. But there were some candles uselessly hanging around here, but they seem to be just getting in the way of me nosing this now. Okay, now that the candle wax is out of the picture a bit, the olfactory picture at least, faint sort of red berry on the nose to begin with, and it's red berry possibly going into a bit of blackberry, literally blackberry, red and blackberry fruits, possibly mostly blackberry there. A little bit faint, but hopefully a bit of swirling will make that more apparent. Oh yeah. Red and blackberry fruits. I almost thought I got a flash of apple there as well, apple skin, red apple. Yeah, again, all very, very, all a bit faint. I wonder if that's partly to do with the fact it's quite cold outside. I don't know. Okay, well, perhaps I'll give this a sip and then come back to the nose and I might be able to say more about it. Quite a luxurious feel to that on the palate for a humble Bourgogne Rouge. That is, as I often say, the most lowly of all appellations in Burgundy. It tells you nothing other than the fact that this fruit came from somewhere in Burgundy. And that has a lovely silky feel to it. Nice hint of concentration to the fruit there. I think again we're talking red and blackberry fruits on the palate. Not noticing that odd flash of apple there so much, so perhaps that was just my imagination on the nose. Very, very fine grain tannins, but barely noticeable. I actually recall with some of the previous Fourrier Bourgogne Rouges that one or two of them occasionally had quite a lot of tannin, a surprising amount, but not noticing that at all here. That is very smooth, silky and refined. Little bit of a savoury hint, but that's pretty subtle. Slight sense of umami there, but it is mostly fruit. It's pure silky fruit. So that's a little bit straightforward to begin with. Perhaps you expect that for Bourgogne Rouge. I don't know. But at the moment, I'm not getting a lot of other side notes either on the nose or on the palate. But the structure, the weight, the mouthfeel on the palate there, all very, very good. I think all indicative of a wine much more prestigious than the most humble appellation that it actually has. Bourgogne. This is anything other than generic Burgundy. There might be a bit of cherry character there developing in amongst those fruits there, but basically red and black. A little bit of plum possibly, yeah, tiny bit of that. Chinese plum sauce I occasionally allude to, but the weight of this is overall slightly towards the lighter side, but not, it's definitely not a light wine, but in terms of weight, within the range of red Burgundy, slightly on the lighter side of medium, possibly, I would say. A lot of finesse to the mouthfeel of that. Just wish it was doing a bit more for me on the nose, but maybe that's just these weird conditions, the background of candles and the fact it's pretty cold. I have some time to mull over this, so I could possibly come back and fill you in with an update later. And I'm guessing with a bit more airing, this will wake up a bit more on the nose and give a bit more away. I quite often can't be bothered to come back outside again later once I've done one of these blurts. Blurts? Is that a word? I don't know. This is a blurt, apparently. It is good. I think slightly on the simplistic side. I think that's something to be expected with just Bourgogne Rouge rather than something more lofty like Gevrey-Chambertin. But of a very sophisticated quality. Yeah, sophisticated but simple. Perhaps that's a good summary. I don't know. If those two things don't just completely contradict each other. I think I'm going to stop talking now. I'm not sure I'm adding any more useful information here. Cheers.